Most people don't realize this, but in the state of Massachusetts, if you want to sell your home, you are going to need a smoke certificate in hand. If you don't have the smoke certificate, you're probably not going to be able to close. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you guys what the smoke certificate is, how it works, and all of the information you need so you're well prepared. If you guys don't know me, my name is Jankowitz. I'm a realtor based in Cambridge and Somerville, Massachusetts. I've closed over 300 transactions in the last 3 years. If you guys have any questions, make sure you hit me up on Calendly. Please hit that subscribe link. If you have other questions, you can always comment or like as well. All right, let's get into this. And the first thing that we need to understand is what the law actually says. So we're gonna put this up on the screen so you guys can read this and clearly digest it. Massachusetts general law is chapter 148, section 26F. It mandates that upon the sale or transfer of certain homes, the seller must install approved smoke alarms. This means when you officially sign the contract to purchase a home, AKA the purchase and sale, there is typically language in that purchase and sale that requires a certificate of compliance from the local fire department. Furthermore, most banks are going to have this requirement anyways in order to get your mortgage approved. So it's something that you're really gonna have to do if you wanna sell your home. It is the responsibility of the seller. It's not the responsibility of the buyer. So how does this work? What do I need to do? Well, the answer is if you have a really good realtor, they should be taking care of all of this for you. In fact, if they're not doing this, I think there's something wrong, my personal opinion. But basically what will happen, once the purchase and sale is signed, the realtor will help coordinate the smoke certificate inspection. So they're gonna call the town's fire department. They're gonna set up an appointment. Sometimes there are long backlogs. Sometimes they can come relatively soon. Usually it'll happen a couple weeks prior to closing. And then once you pass, you'll receive a smoke certificate from the fire department, typically on the spot. Sometimes it's a physical document. Sometimes it is emailed to you as an electronic copy. And then that is passed along to the closing attorney. Now there's a number of smoke requirements in the state of Massachusetts. And so I'm gonna break down what they are. And these are assuming that the home was built before 1975. There are different sets of regulations depending on when the home was built, but I find most inventory is built before 1975. So here are the requirements. They're gonna come up on the full screen again so you can read them over very carefully. You can pause the screen if you want as well. Smoke alarms have to be on every habitable level. There has to be a smoke alarm in the basement. The smoke alarm has to be at the ceiling, at the base of each set of stairs heading up, including the basement level, but not over the stairs. In other words, you want to get to the bottom level and then have the smoke. You don't want to have a smoke alarm that's actually going up on the pathway of the stairs itself. You have to have a smoke alarm on the ceiling outside each separate sleeping area. I find most of the time it's okay if there are, say, a hallway with a bedroom on each side to just have one out there. It's definitely overkill to do more than one there. The smoke alarm must be photoelectric. It can be battery, hardwired, or combo. Now keep in mind, this is state regulations, but different towns have other regulations. And I find oftentimes you do need to go with like a combo route, or you do need to go the hardwired route. So this can get a little complicated. Alarms cannot be more than 10 years old. For two families, smoke alarms must also be in all common areas. So in other words, if you have like a common hallway or common stairs or common back stairwell or common basement, they need to be there as well. It's not like you can just skip it because it's a common area. And finally, the alarm must contain a hush feature for new alarms that are battery powered, and they must be 10 years, sealed, non-rechargeable batteries, and no replaceable batteries. So those are the basic requirements for smokes. You also need to make sure you have your carbon monoxide alarm. So now we're gonna put up another screen here and we're gonna go over for your carbons, what your rules are. For your CO alarms on every level of the residence, including habitable portions, the basement and attics, they must be located within 10 feet of each bedroom door. It can be a combo alarm. In other words, a photoelectric smoke and carbon, totally okay. Combo alarms do have certain requirements though. It has to have both a tone and a simulated voice alarm to distinguish the type of emergency. If it doesn't do that, it will not pass the smoke certification. Maybe either battery powered, a plug-in, or hardwired. And then finally, of course, you have to follow all manufacturer instructions. So this was a lot of information to digest. And the truth is these can be really complicated and confusing. I have found different towns to have different requirements. I found even within different towns, depending on who you have that comes to the inspection, they have different level of stringentness. I have some people, for example, who will come in, they do a very quick pass and they give you the smoke cert. I have others that are extremely thorough and it seems like they're just trying to give you a hard time. So it can be a little hard sometimes to digest all of this. A couple tips that I have found to be useful. I have found the Kitty combo alarm with the carbon and photoelectric alarms to often be the best way to go. It kills two birds with one stone, and that it is a carbon and a smoke. And if you get the right model, you should be good to go. The one thing with these is they are kind of expensive. They're about 45 to 50 bucks a pop. So if you have a large house, it can actually add up quite a bit. I know I just said this a second ago, but I can't reiterate this enough. Every town is different. And so you really, when in doubt, it's good to call the local fire department to make sure you understand exactly what their requirements are to make sure that you're following everything to a T. Next tip, this is a really big one. I have seen new agents and people who are for sale by owners make this mistake. Do not schedule the inspection a day or two prior to closing. Why? Because you may not pass. And if you don't pass, you have to reschedule. Depending on the town, it can be a while. I find most of the time they'll work with you to try to get back in relatively quickly, but there can be delays. And the last thing you want to do is delay closing, really upset a lot of people, and potentially have the deal fall apart actually. So what you want to do is really, I'd say a couple weeks beforehand, maybe 2 weeks before closing, have this taken care of. That way you have a little runway if you do need to have them scheduled back out again and you don't have to stress out about making any fixes. Finally, what is the cost for this kind of thing? Well, the cost for the fire department, I find it generally is 50 bucks to 100 bucks, something like that per unit. I think in Somerville, I think it's like 50 for one. For a two family, it's 100 and a three is 150, I believe. So it's something like that. So it's relatively affordable. Again, most realtors will do this for you. I recommend leaning on your realtors since they're dealing with this kind of thing all the time. I have seen homeowners insist they want to do it themselves. And if they really know what they're doing and they're really thorough, it can be fine. But for bigger homes, I've seen issues arise. So just handle with care. And that's really it. I mean, that's sort of the basics. I provide a lot of information to give you at least a high level understanding, hopefully, of kind of what you need to look for. But when in doubt, you really want to understand your local town and what they're looking for. It's always best to call the local fire department and hopefully they'll be helpful to guide you to make sure you're doing everything correctly. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. If you guys like what you're seeing, please subscribe and I'll see you guys next time.